and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. After a year of following up on old episodes, let's start 2019 off by following up on an old episode. Oh, don't give me that look, you know you want more Godzilla. What you don't want more of, though, is Sergeant Woods, who is, in fact, the main character of the rest of Godzilla Kingdom of Monsters. Woods is a military officer that we had to see the thoughts of in issue 4, and man oh man were his thoughts not interesting. Mostly it was complaining about how these damn kids today don't appreciate hard work and sacrifice, and how millennials are killing the dying from a giant monster industry or some bullcrap like that. And then, just to show how likable a character he was, he walked away from a bunch of civilians in trouble just because he didn't like that they were on a crappy TV show. Admittedly, he probably couldn't help them and would have died with them, but the comic makes it clear by its framing that he left them to die because he didn't like them and not out of concern for his own life. The good news is that the comic does start to get better from here. It's still not good, but it is better. Let's dig into Godzilla, Kingdom of Monsters, number 5.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man, punch, wears a birdie hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazon and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
Reading from a trade, so no looking at the cover. Let's just get started. We open in Russia, where the artwork has taken a bit of a plunge. Yeah, the previous issues were drawn by Phil Hester, who's not my favorite artist, but a lot of his stuff is competent and is uniquely his own style. You can usually tell a book is drawn by him by how he draws people. He handled the first 4 issues of the book, but from here on out, it's Victor Santos. His artwork has more energy, but it's also much more cartoony. We see that right away as we witness a guy poring over papers before we see him out in a park proclaiming, "I know what they are! I know where the monsters come from! Just thought I'd shout that out to random people. I'm sure this information is very useful to you people roaming around the park." Unfortunately for him, Rodan is still in the area and knocks over a tower, which falls right on top of him. My god, the monsters have organized a political assassination! But don't worry, the piece of paper with his results are still there, so I guess somebody can find that and let this be a plot point for later that'll help our heroes resolve the situation. Or it's just a dumb joke that will never be brought up again. Thank you for wasting our time. In Los Angeles, Godzilla seems to have succeeded in killing, or at least defeating, Anguirus, letting out an Ultimate Warrior skronk in celebration. A man emerges from the rubble and calls out for any other survivors, quickly locating another man. It's honestly one of the first touching moments of humanity we've actually had in these books, as they hope there are more survivors, and they just want to walk in the opposite direction of Godzilla. It feels like a genuine Godzilla movie thing, or at least from one of the more serious films, where Godzilla's destruction is like after a terrorist attack or a natural disaster. It's not perfect, but it's a step in the right direction. Over to the White House, a comically rotund general and, the Secretary of Defense? I don't know who this guy is. Anyway, they want the president to authorize using chemical weapons on Anguirus. It seems he is still alive, but in his weakened state, they think this is their best shot at killing it before it can recover from the fight with Godzilla. And let's face it, if they do let it recover, it's just gonna come back in the 3rd act for the rematch and win thanks to the emotional words of its mentor. The president is reluctant to use the gas because there are still civilians in the area who would be affected. "With all due respect, sir, we performed a mandatory evacuation of the area. Those who stayed behind did so of their own free will, against our orders and at their own risk. Which means it's okay if we gas civilians." Yeah, bigger threat and all, and they do say it'll be confined to a small area, and the heaviness of the gas will keep it from spreading out to surrounding areas. He signs the order, and we see that President Ogden's first name is Babak. I was gonna make fun of this because of their lazy way of changing Obama to Ogden, but looking it up, Babak is actually a real name, Persian in origin, meaning little father, which would be perfect for this book if Godzilla had Minya with him. A family in Pasadena apparently decided to take their sweet time packing before they evacuated, since Godzilla is moving their way, as we can see by all the stuff they've tied to their car. Still, another first for the series, there are 2 kids with the family, and they're not annoying or sadistic. We are given no reason why we'd want to see them dead, so I guess the creative team's raging hatred of children has finally subsided. After they finally head out, we cut over to Paris and the Louvre. I can't remember the correct pronunciation, where the twin psychic girls who speak to Batra have decided to steal the crown jewels of France. This is better. Yes, Mallory, this is what real queens should wear. Screw you, RuPaul. Also, I'm pretty sure some of those were made for kings. Anyway, after taking the jewels, they decide to go show them off to Batra. A Russian jet pursues Rodan as it leaves the country. Quick, somebody stop him! He doesn't have a passport! And then the Russian Air Force orders the jet to turn around because the Belarusian forces are going to take over the pursuit. And that's all that happens on this page. Thanks for that scene, comic. It was pivotal to the whole story. Back in Los Angeles, the 2 survivors continue to look for others but can't find anyone. Eventually, they spot someone in the rubble. It's Girly Yaya, the parody of Lady Gaga. Is she dead? I don't know. Poker face. Yep, she's dead alright. Poker face. Hee hee. What? Hee hee. Get it? Poker face? Get it? No, I don't get it. If you're not gonna bother changing her song names, why did you bother changing her stage name for the parody? Like, this was already such a limp-wristed parody, but they're just keeping it called Poker Face. Like, not even Texas Hold'em Face or 5-Card Stud Face. Hell, that one actually sounds real. It's not funny, man. She's dead. You're right, it's not funny. And they start laughing. Ha 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 ha! A celebrity is dead and we just alluded to one of her song names. Some could argue that it's just them coping with trauma, except we've seen no evidence that they're having issue with this. It's just, wow, we survived Godzilla. That's a bummer. Oh hey, let's laugh at the person the comic creators parodied who's dead! But of course, as soon as they exemplify some unlikable traits, that means they must die as well. As it turns out, they're in the splash zone of the chemical weapons. Jets shoot the poison gas at Anguirus, and it spreads to the area near it, presumably killing them too. And it was all for nothing anyway, as Anguirus simply stands up out of the reach of the heavy gas. What? But I didn't think he would stand up! Neither did I, frankly. He seemed pretty out of it after the fight. You sure the gas didn't actually make him stronger? Well, General, got any other bright ideas? This was your idea! No, it wasn't. Yes, it was! Nope, your plan, not mine.
I'm the government, I'm the government, I'm the reason nothing works.
At the United Nations, they're reporting on just how bad things have gotten. Millions are displaced, and the sheer number of refugees from the affected areas has made relief efforts nearly impossible, not helped by the fact that with major transportation centers destroyed, they can't get more supplies to people. The only way to actually improve things is to kill the monsters, and it seems one general, from somewhere, presumably Russia, says he has a plan to deal with Rodan, who seems to be on course to attack Batra in Paris. We know Godzilla crossed an ocean to get to Anguirus, and when they met, all hell broke loose. We must prepare for the very real possibility that another battle is brewing. It's gonna be really embarrassing when it turns out Rodan and Batra are just old college roommates and they're just planning a Smash Brothers party. In Frankfurt, the German military mocks the Americans' attempt at gassing Anguirus with a low-lying poison that only ended up killing all the civilians who had survived the monster attack. However, their poison gas is so much better! It's lighter than air, so it'll stay in range of Rodan when he passes through it, but won't float down and kill them. Naturally, this plan also goes horribly awry, as Rodan simply flaps its massive wings and ends up sending the gas down to the people anyway. I don't even get what they hope to accomplish with this. Rodan would maybe take one breath of the poison gas and then pass right through it. Sure, it'll cough and wheeze for a moment as if you inhaled smoke, but it's going to be going fast enough that it'll just pass through it, survive, and breathe just fine the rest of the way. Back in Paris, the psychic twins see that Batra has entered its cocoon stage and attached itself to the Eiffel Tower. You know, I've actually been to the Eiffel Tower before, had dinner there. Right now, anyone inside of that restaurant is getting a great look at Batra's crotch. Is he dead? No, he's not dead. That's not him anymore. Batra is now played by a different actor. Batra is changing. Has he left us? No, Mallory. Batra will never leave us. Or at least if he does, we can sue him for breach of contract. On the roads out of Pasadena, the area is jam-packed with people. And looters, as a bunch of teens attack the car of the family we saw earlier and try to steal food and water off of it. A riot breaks out, and we see an older couple on a hill nearby witnessing it. They decided to hike off the main roads for exactly this reason. The rioting gets bad enough that someone pulls out a gun and shoots the teens to protect their water. My God! You know, it makes you wonder who the real monsters really are. The husband says no offense and points out Godzilla. Oh, yeah, you're right, hun. That's a monster. Wow! That's incredible! If it was just for a cheap laugh, congratulations on completely missing the point. Like, you have to be willfully obtuse to not get that. Come on, we best put some miles between us and all the monsters. You just said that Godzilla was the real monster and not people acting monstrous! What are you even doing in this comic? Is it just for the joke? Is that it? Dear Lord, I do not understand what tone this book is going for. Maybe just dark comedy, but like, it's just not funny enough, especially when the next couple pages feature actual legitimate terror and drama as the family in the car is frightened out of their wits upon seeing Godzilla walking down the road. And then Godzilla decides to just be a dick and thermonuclear blasts the cars. Look, Godzilla, I hate traffic jams too, but isn't that a bit excessive? Like, he breaks out the power move for cars that he can just easily stomp on? What the hell? Sergeant Woods finally makes an appearance, right at the end, walking through the devastated road with a gas mask on. He locates the daughter of the family, hiding under some rubble. Are you a monster too? No, but he is a jerk, so that's not much better right now. No, sweetie, I'm no monster. I'm the only person in this story framed to not be terrible, even though I really am. I'm Stephen Woods. Where are your parents? She doesn't answer. Yeah, well, if your parents liked Jersey Shore or pop singers, then they deserve to die! He points out how he lost his parents too, which I guess happened between issues. He did call his parents and tell them to seek shelter if the monsters headed their way. And so our comic ends with him taking her along on their journey and promising that everything's gonna be alright. I don't believe you. That's what Daddy said. He lied. Are you kidding? You're the first child who hasn't been horribly murdered by one of these things. You're friggin' invincible, kid! This comic is better, but still not that great. Like I said the last time we covered this series, the book does improve over time, and this is a step up over what's come before. While I'm still not a big fan of the artwork, what strikes me as kind of interesting is that while the bits like the generals being rotund and deliberately comical just felt over the top, the parts like Godzilla's silhouette approaching and the devastated, almost post-apocalyptic road at the very end are very striking and well done. It seems Woods has gotten all his contempt at modern society out of his system, since he's way more likable here than in issue 4, coming across more like a badass action hero with a heart of gold than as the bitter, annoying jackass we saw there. Unfortunately, as I joked about, this gives the impression that he is the only good person in the entire friggin' planet. Everyone else is portrayed as arrogant, dumb, jerky, or just naive in the face of this terrible disaster, and that can get frustrating really fast, especially having such an annoying introduction to him last time. This issue is still miles ahead of the other issues, though, by virtue of having characters who at least show more humanity than in those, where the most likable character was the guy who tried to suicide bomb Godzilla, and it was all just pointless and tragic instead. The monster action was okay, though was more there for the human drama as opposed to them being forces in themselves. Next time, we check out an unlikely crossover as the Dark Knight must take on xenomorphs. My god, what was inside of those cars on the road? How is there so much fire and smoke rising up that it's reaching past Godzilla's head?